quite okay, but the habits I tend to have is to use to use functions for that kind of stuff. Functions doesn't do picking, and here it works for us. We can do an unselect all function, and it will just look like that. Functions. I usually rename the function object to f for speed. I will create a function unselect all, and I will explain why I always do a sub event on functions. I just have to do that, and that's all I have to do. I don't have to do picking anything, because I won't, since function doesn't do picking, it will by default pick all objects, and I just have to do functions, call functions, unselect all. Now, why do I like functions? First, it's naming stuff. Basically, I know here I unselect all. I don't even need to look at the function. I know the function will unselect all objects. Why do I put a sub-event? Because here I can't collapse what's in the function. Here I can collapse. That's a one-line function, so that's not a really a big deal. But that's really, I'm picky. But when you have many functions like that, and you have some, you did that, notice the difference. There's a gap here. I like to not have. So I can have a series of functions collapsed, and just have the comments that explain the functions on top, and a series of functions like that. If you need to know how the function works, you can uncollapse the function and look at the function. But if you don't need, if you just if you have an unselect all function, you don't really have to need how it's implemented. You just have to need what the function does. It unselect all. Do you need to know how the distance function in C2 is implemented? Not really. It's the same here. So unselect all. Select into true, pick all is selected. Set offset. Okay, I think we're done for the basic of a Marquee tool. But I'll check how much time. We can continue further on inverting selection, and that's where the function will kind of be nice to us. We'll do an inversion function. We'll do all that by functions. It will be, I think, clearer. Look at that. I will set a button. Name button, because it's a button. I will keep the type to button. There's new stuff here. I didn't try it yet, but it's in the last release. I will do an invert selection, and I will do a unselect all and select all. Now, what you may have noticed is that I don't use three different button objects. I just use one button object for one reason, is that I don't like having tons of objects that does the same thing. Basically, a button is just an object you click on and does an action. So how will I differentiate each button? I just need to have an instance variable I will call action. And actually, the thing I'm doing since some days is that I will create a function name. I already have unselect all. I will create the function select all and the function invert. And what will I do in here? Invert for now. We'll see that in a second. What I can do from that is put the name, directly the name of the function inside the action instance variable of the button. You'll see. Select all. Select all. I will save because it's a good capix. I don't want to lose it. And invert. And I just have. I will add a group buttons, and it won't be. It will be only one event. One clicked. Call function button dot action. That's all. Since we already implemented unselected all and select all, it should work. Isn't that nice? Select all. It's worked perfectly. Now the invert. We have to first know the ones that aren't selected, select them, and unselect those who were selected. When you are doing that kind of stuff, let's say you have three pens in your hand. Two in one hand, the right hand is the selected hand and the left hand is the unselected hand. You have two pens in the right hand and one pen in the left hand. How do you swap the two? Usually you put the two pens you have in your hand on the table, you take the pen you have in your left hand in your right hand, and you get back the pen you put in the table in your left hand. What you are doing when you are putting the pen you have in your right hand in the table is that you are memorizing something. So you need another variable. You need a variable to keep which sprite was selected. The problem is you need to memorize more than one thing. You need to memorize all the sprites that were selected, deselect them, select all the sprites that wasn't selected, and select them. Or do a select all and unselect those who were selected. I prefer this one. So how do you store the information was selected? You have two solutions here. I see two solutions. There might be more. I see two solutions. The first one is to create another Boolean variable for the sprite that clones, that mimic the selected variable. That will store was selected. We can call this variable was selected. Now, the other solution is to create an array that will store the list of objects that was selected and use that to deselect them in the end of the invert function. So I will write down, I want to select all, and here unselect previously selected. Alright, so here I can already do a call function select all, but here I will lose this information. So before, I want to memorize selection. How do you memorize the selection? An array or another boolean. I will use both just to show. Selection. Okay. First, I will use the boolean system. I will create a boolean was selected is all selection is all selection was selected is good enough. Okay. Was selected. So I can do that. I can pick the sprites that are selected now. I can set their was selected to true, then select all, then if was selected unselect, set boolean selected to false. That's all I have to do. Almost all I have to do. You'll see. Here, invert working. But now, invert doesn't work anymore. Why? Because the was selected wasn't reset. You have to reset the was selecting to be able to use it in the end. You can even be a little paranoid and set every sprite to was selecting to false before doing everything else. Here, invert, 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 invert. Working nice. Invert, you can select and move. Invert, you can select and move. Just select. All your previous feature still works. So here is the first solution. We'll do a second invert function with the other solution. I will just show you that there's many ways to do the same thing in construct. There's not good and bad ways, there's just many ways. That's why sometimes when people ask in the forum how to do that, how to do this, it depends. It really depends on the current state of what you are doing, what you already made, and what you want to make. You have to be precise when you describe what you want, and you have to not expect one only solution. Okay, so selected to false, but I prefer that one already, but you will see. No, so you have to memorize the selection. To do that, you will first set the size of the array to 0 and 1. So you, in simple terms, you empty it by doing that. And you have to start with the 0 because we will use the push function. And the push function add 1 to the size of the array, and then add your information at the last cell of the table of the array. It's an array, not a table. Okay, so selected. I empty the table. Then I will push for each sprite. I will push the UID in the table. So push back. The order doesn't matter, so you can do front or back, it's the same thing. Back, it will push in the end of the list. You can imagine the array as a list, and if you push back, the first item you added will stay first, and then the other will